If you're not listening to the Smoke World Podcast, you're wasting your time, you mortal.
What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Smoke World. I'm your host, Stone. So go grab that stick, go grab a glass, whatever you're drinking. Let's sit back and have a conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at Smoke World Podcast. Email stone@smokeworldpodcast.com. Smokeworldpodcast.com is the website. Go check it out. Go support the sponsors. Today, I'm sitting here at the lounge. We have the Rocky Patel guest, my brother Alex. He's going to be sitting here. We also have some of the Brothers of the Leaf. We're going to do a town hall type of format. So we're going to go around the room. We have any conversation. We have a couple questions. We're going to rock. It's going to be a different setup, but you're going to love it. So my brother Alex, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate your time. So we want to kind of talk about what's going on with Rocky Patel at this moment. Before we do that, I'm going to get a little demographic on you, where you're from, how long you've been working for Rocky Patel.
All right, so I live in North Delaware right now, but home is all over the place. So I was a military brat growing up, and I moved all over the damn place. So home is wherever I have my feet at the moment. So right now it's North Delaware. I've been with Rocky for about 4 years now, but I have been working in cigars and in the tobacco industry for almost a decade.
Okay.
I started on the retail side. I worked for a very small boutique company called J Fuego for almost a year. Worked with another boutique conglomerate called Boutiques Unified. Worked with them for about 2.5 years, and then I got on board with Rocky. So I've been doing this road gig for about 7 now.
How long have you been smoking cigars?
Let's see, my first cigar was when I was 18 in Florida. That was my first cigar. Now, my mom's the one that got me into cigars as a whole.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting story. We got now you sparked something.
Okay, all right.
Now we're going to elaborate on that a little bit. So your mom started you on cigars, not weed, cigars. Okay.
No, weed was my own thing. I eventually started smoking with my mom with that. That's its own story. But cigars is all my mom. So my whole family was military. My dad was 28 years in the Air Force. My mom did 22 years in the Army National Guard. So after 9/11, she got stationed up at Staten Island to do the cleanup.
Okay.
So she was working that cleanup up there, going through that whole mess. And at the end of the day, you know, anybody who's military knows you got limits on what you can do to rest and relax at the end of the day. Can't drink too much, if anything at all, so a lot of service people end up smoking cigars. So she sees all the guys at the end of the day sitting there smoking cigars, and being, you know, a female in a very male-dominated space, she's got to keep face with everybody. So they yell over to her, "Hey, Kraft, come over here, smoke a cigar with us." She sits down. She smokes a Romeo y Julieta as her first cigar. And kicks her ass, but she's not going to let any of the guys see that. You know, she can't let them see that at all. I go, "What do you think?" "Oh, it was great." "Well, have another one." So after that, she's smoking cigars the whole time she's there. She gets done, gets a half wheel, basically, of cigars given to her, brings them home, and introduces my dad to them. So, and they were going through a rough patch, we'll say, at that point in time.
Okay.
And they worked through it by smoking cigars in the garage. I remember those times where they would go out and they would go, "Alex, Mom and Dad are going outside to have some us time. You only come out and bother us if the house is burning down or one of you is bleeding." And they go in the garage and they'd hang out there for a couple hours. They come back in smelling like smoke, but they worked through all their bullshit through smoking cigars together. So one thing led to another, and eventually I started smoking with them. My mom opened up a shop in Jersey, and that's where I got my retail start at. And then now I'm here.
Wow. What was your first cigar? Was that Romeo and Juliet? What was that?
My first cigar was a freaking acid.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
you don't remember what your first cigar was?
It was an acid 10. One of the 10s. I don't remember what blend in particular, but I was down in Florida. I knew my parents smoked cigars. I knew about cigars. I knew the process of it because we would hang out together. I would drink with my parents all the time. It was like, why go to a shitty party with shitty booze and deal with shitty people when I can stay at home, drink for free and drink good stuff. So I would hang out with them and I would drink with them. So they always smoked cigars. So I kind of picked up through osmosis like how you smoke a cigar, what it is to smoke a cigar. So that's kind of how I got used to it. But my first one was down in Florida. I was down there for my senior trip. And I was the only one who was 18 out of my group. So I went into this little cigar store in Orlando. And they're like, oh, dude, I don't know, get an acid. I hear those are really good. So I got this little tin of acids that I could share with all the people who were there. And we smoked those, and I was like, it's whatever. I didn't really love it. I came back home maybe a couple weeks later. I'm hanging out in the garage with the family, the neighbors. We're having some drinks. And I just go, so I tried an acid the other day. My mom goes, you did what? You tried what? It was like, I smoked an acid. Like, what? Oh, you smoked an acid. I thought you said you tried acid. That wasn't for a few years later. That wasn't until a few years later. I had to be a little bit, that's what college is for. But yeah, they went, okay, you aren't smoking that anymore. And they started giving me
some real stuff,
real cigars, quote unquote.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna rag on anybody.
No,
for
that's what I
smoking
said.
Yep, you smoke what you like at the end
Absolutely.
of the day. You like acids, smoke acids. You like Javas, smoke Javas. You like Undercrown, smoke Undercrown. You like Rocky, definitely smoke Rocky.
Whatever you like.
Yep.
It's like Burger King, have it your way. Mm-hmm. All right, so what do you normally pair your cigars with? If I see tonight, you got some.
So
some
tonight I got
Basil
some Basil Hayden. I got the dark rye going on.
Got a combination chicken and broccoli. You got the dark and the regular.
Yeah,
I'm not mad at that.
I'm just going hard for in honor of the podcast. But yeah, I like whiskey. I like bourbon. I like scotch. I like a good beer. It really depends on what I'm smoking, how much I've smoked throughout the day. What will pair well or what will get through what I smoked today.
How many cigars do you think you smoke a day?
Monday through Friday, I'm probably about 5 a day.
Really?
Yeah, give or take.
He's a gangster.
Yeah,
Okay.
about that. On the weekends, Saturday, Sunday, I might smoke one.
Gotcha. Now,
Not
is that because you are working? Or
mostly because I'm working.
Okay.
Saturday, Sunday, I'm not on the road. I'm not in cigar stores. I'm not dealing with cigar people all day. So I only get to smoke so much. I do some yard work. I get done. I sit outside with a beer. I have a cigar. My wife knows, like, that's my time. I get one a day, Saturday, Sunday. That's the thing.
All right, now, as a person looking on the outside, a lot of times we think as cigar smokers, we look at the reps and think, man, that's the life. You get to smoke cigars and travel and talk to people. So what are the pros and cons you think of being a rep? What are some of the good things that you get? Okay, you get to maybe smoke 5 cigars a day.
Yeah.
But,
that's nice.
Right. So, give us that whole inside scoop.
Yeah, so
A day in the life in being a Rocky Patel rep.
being a rep is, it's the best job I ever had. I'm not going to lie on that. It's great. I do get to do all of that. I get to come out here. This is me working, having a cigar, talking with you fine folk, drinking some goose. That's a good day. But like any job, there's a lot of BS that comes with it too. It's a sales job, so I'm dealing with people all the time. I'm constantly going. I'm constantly on the road. I'm driving all over the place. And the worst part, in all honesty, is the driving. Everywhere. I live in traffic. Traffic is my spirit animal at this point in time.
And I take it you smoke in your car.
Yeah. It's the only way I'd be able to get through all the freaking traffic. What else am I going to do whenever I'm sitting on 95 traffic like today that's been backed up for 7 hours? What else am I going to do? I'm going to sit in my car. I'm going to smoke a cigar. I'm going to have some water or something and just chill out.
Gotcha. So pros and cons. Okay, now, Rocky Patel. Now, as I recall, Rocky was the man, not saying he's not the man now, but back in the late 90s, Rocky really kind of took over the industry. There was nothing, you couldn't go nowhere and not see Rocky. Things may have slowed down a little bit for Rocky, but what's going on with Rocky at this moment?
So, Rocky did a lot for the industry at that point in time. He's one of the few companies that got through the boom, which was that mid-90s, early 90s influx of cigar smokers and cigar culture. He started in the boom and he got through the boom. So many companies never were able to do that. Now, today it might feel like he's slowed down because he's not out and about in the same way, but Rocky is busier than he's ever been at this point in time. One of the big things he's doing is he's working on FDA regs. He's constantly fighting the FDA regulations that are going on. He works with the CRA, he works with the PCA, he works with these various different advocacy and lobbying groups to try and keep the government out of premium cigars. Okay. And that is what takes up a lot of his time right now.
Really?
So he might not be out on the road in the same way that he was. He might not be doing events every single day, Monday through Friday, in the same way that he was. But he is constantly out there. He spends a lot of time in D.C., just constantly pushing for less regulations on cigars.
So where do you think we stand with that as far as, if you know, some of those restrictions that the government are trying to implement? Where do we stand? Do we have a good chance to hopefully be able to enjoy our cigars in the near future without having to pay some astronomical price or shutting down the flavored or infused cigars?
Yeah, right now,
in your opinion, if you know.
Right now, the honest answer is that it's a little nebulous. We don't really know. Every time we take a step forward, we end up taking a step back. It's a constant tug of war. We aren't losing the fight, but we aren't really winning it right now either. Okay. So that's troublesome. I mean, this has been going on since, God, whenever I first started getting into the industry, we were talking about the first set of regulations coming in, and that was 10 years ago. And as of right now, we're damn near close to the same spot that we were. So things haven't necessarily progressed for them. We've won some battles, but we've lost others. So it's a constant fight. At this particular moment, the big fight is on flavored cigars. And what is the future of that? The current administration is pushing to get rid of flavored cigarettes and flavored machine cigars. So that would be menthols, that would be black and milds, that would be backwoods. You know, they're pushing to eliminate all of that, anything that is non-tobacco flavored. And it's likely that that is going to happen. I don't know when, but that seems likely at this point in time. We don't know what that impact is going to be on premium cigars, and that's where one of the fights is right now, trying to keep them out of the premium cigar side. And that's kind of the current battle line.
Is it politics, you think? Because each administration has their own agenda. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say we're going to get into politics, but I do believe politics play a big role.
100%.
It depends whose administration it is at that point in time, and their point of view on cigar or tobacco related products.
It all plays in. So, I mean, on the stereotypical side, you would say more of a Democrat left-wing agenda would be more anti-smoking, and a more right-wing agenda would be more, pro-business, is typically what you'd see. Now, when it comes down to cigars, that seems to go right out the window. The last administration didn't really do much to help. They didn't do much to hurt, but they didn't really do much to help either.
Okay.
And the current administration is definitely pushing towards more regulations and more restrictions. At the end of the day, part of it is a messaging thing. Okay. We've been dealing with anti-tobacco messaging since the Master Agreement in '98 and before that. The Master Agreement was the big court case that went against the cigarette companies. Right. Involving, like the Marlboro Camel and all of that kind of stuff, Joe Cool, all of those things, trying to keep them away from kids. And it was very obvious that cigarette companies were doing that at that point in time. But the messaging there was essentially tobacco is bad, right? Tobacco bad, that's it. That's a simple message. Gets out there to people. Right. We have to combat with a complex message, which is, yes, certain tobacco products can be bad, and there is an innate risk to smoking tobacco, sure. But cigars, in comparison to cigarettes, are a vastly different process. You aren't inhaling. It doesn't have all the extra chemicals and additives. It's a natural product. All of those, and we all get that. Every one of us here smoking gets that. But the general public doesn't. And whenever your messaging is smoking bad, tobacco bad, versus all of that I just said,
defining,
it's harder to fight that fight. That message is harder to get across. So some of it is politics, and some of it is just a general perception that we're still fighting from the 90s.
Okay. Well, I got my brothers here, the Leaf. I'm not gonna hog the mic. Brother Israel, here you go. Here's the mic.
Hey, Alex. My name's Israel. One question I have for you in regards to Rocky Patel. Don't know if you can answer this or not, but what's in the works now? What new cigars are coming out now?
So I can't speak too heavily on that. We have a few new things coming out this summer. So as far as I know, if I remember correctly, we have 3 brand new blends. The return of the AOR will be coming back, and a couple special items that we're working on. The one I can talk about is the 60th anniversary. That is for Rocky's 60th birthday.
Okay.
So that's a new cigar that's coming out. We've been putting some pressers out for it and getting people ready for it. It's a box press cigar out of Nicaragua. Stays in the medium bodied range. Really, really complex and flavorful. I'm a big fan of it. I got to try one in April out in Atlanta, and it was very good. I was very impressed. It reminds me a little bit of the quarter century as far as complexity goes, but is not as full-bodied as the quarter century is. So that's one to kind of keep on the radar. The other couple, I can't really say much about,
Gotcha.
but they're all high-end, high-quality sticks we're putting out. You know, the cigars that we're putting out are going to be, we aren't putting out the $10 stick right now. We're putting out the $15 or the $20 stick. We're putting out the stuff that is higher quality and will help round out the portfolio a little bit more than just the usual $10 stick that everybody. What's the point in coming out with the same $10 cigar that's a little different than the other $10 cigar you put out, 2 years ago? Yep.
We're like $10 prices.
Mm-hmm.
$20 sticks.
So we're starting to try and compete more in that market right now. You know, you've got your Padrones out there, you've got your Undercrowns out there, you've got or not Undercrowns, Liga Privadas, you got your Davidoffs, you got these cigars that are out there that are in that price point, that are of that quality, and we haven't competed as much in that market right now. So we're starting to branch more into that market and try and get a little bit more of a foothold there.
Okay, that leads me to the other question. Now, here at Cigar Sessions, they have a huge selection of boutique cigars.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see Rocky competing against that?
Are you looking for a new platform to connect with other cigar smokers, consumers, lounges, and brands while escaping tobacco-related rules of other social media platforms? Then look no further. Stogie Lives, the new social media platform for cigar lovers created by a female. So come join Stogie Lives, STOGIELIVES.com, where every cigar lover has a place to connect.
So boutiques are interesting. I come from a boutique background. I started in a small shop that had a boutique following, and I worked for boutique companies before I got on with Rocky. So I got a special place in my heart for boutiques, 100%. At the end of the day, they're separate markets, You think about, let's say, you go to a bar, right? And the bar on tap has Coors Light, has Bud Light, has Miller Lite, and then has a bunch of microbrews or craft beers on tap as well. You ask that bar, what's the most that they're going to sell? Well, IPA guy who loves the craft brew is probably going to say XYZ. I don't know, the High-O-Lie, whatever. But no, not at all. It's going to be the Coors Light, or it's going to be the Bud Light.
Right.
So at the end of the day, there's separate markets almost to be had for that. There's the guy who's going to buy the Rocky Patel, which is, the 99 for all intents and purposes, and this isn't to say anything bad, is the Coors Light. It is that easy smoking, affordable, everyday cigar for the everyday smoker. The guy who loves the IPA craft beer, he's not going to go to that. He's a separate market. He's going to go to that boutique side. And the boutique guys, they can be fickle at times. They're always looking for what's new, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But that's kind of what they're looking for. So it's kind of a different market. Where we're competing with them, or at least kind of in the same vein as them, is we're starting to incorporate more Nicaraguan tobacco into our blends.
Gotcha.
And Nicaraguan is kind of where, especially the boutique side is at right now, and where a lot of the market tends to be going. So we're branching into more Nicaraguan. A lot of the stuff we're putting out right now has a lot of Nicaraguan tobacco in it. It's playing more towards the medium to full body. So we kind of compete in that realm. But at the end of the day, they're kind of two separate entities that can coexist, you know?
Gotcha. Thank you very
no
much.
problem.
I'm going to pass the mic on.
Good evening. My name is Dwight, and thank you for having me on this podcast. What is Rocky's most popular cigar as of right now?
So our most popular by far is the Vintage 99. That's by far our most popular. Connecticut wrapper, like I said, it's the Bud Light. It's that everyday smoker. After that, you've got the Edges, you've got the Vintage 1990, you got the Javas. You know, you've got this whole kind of mix of stuff. But by and large, the Vintage 99 is our best-selling cigar.
Okay, I'm gonna try that one.
It's a good stick. You know, it's mild, but it's a good mild cigar. Definitely worth trying.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so question I have, now obviously we had COVID. 2020 was a hell of a year for everybody. Mm-hmm. Now we're trying to move to the other side. What are some of the things that Rocky, I guess maybe events, or what are some of the things that now just try to put the cigar industries back on the map to keep the name recognition out there? Does Rocky Patel have anything planned? Do you personally or the reps, are you starting to now say, you know what, we can start to go out to these different lounges and start to do some different events? What does that look like? What's a conversation like that at the board level?
Events have been interesting as a whole. Events have been they've been a sticky situation throughout all this, obviously. You can't have during all the regulations, you're going to have people in the same way. So we did some Zoom events and things like that during that time, but they never seemed to pan out in the right way. They were always a little lackluster. But now that we're getting back into it, I know I'm doing more events. I know across the board we're doing more. But even now, they're still a little iffy. I did an event at a shop recently. I won't say what shop, but did an event at a shop recently. I kill it at this shop every single time I do an event there. I do events there 4 times a year, and every single time I do it, we have a good event. And that particular day, we had like a dozen people show up. And it was my first event with them since COVID, pretty much. And it didn't hit in the same way. So and who knows what it was. I mean, it was a beautiful day.
I'd say now, is it the marketing of the lounge owner, how they marketed that event?
Right, he always does a good job. You know,
Okay.
This shop is one of those shops that puts it out there. Maybe it was because it was one of the first nice days that we'd had in a while, so people were out doing other things. Maybe it was still a little bit of COVID fears. I don't know, but events have been a little iffy. I'm still doing them, and I'm getting back into them, but that has been a little iffy. As far as during the pandemic went, though, during the heart of it, we did pretty well. You know, cigar smokers as a whole seem to start buying more and coming
they had
out
nothing else
more.
better to do.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you were, let's say, a guy who smoked, 2 cigars 3 times a week after work. You came into the lounge, you sat down, you smoked 2 or 3 cigars, whatever it might be. That's what you did 2 or 3 times a week. But during the pandemic, let's say you're working from home, you've got some disposable income because you aren't doing your vacation, you aren't going out to eat in the same way, and you got a place to smoke. Why wouldn't you smoke a cigar while you're working from home? 100% you would. So that guy who was buying 6 cigars a week was now buying a box a week. And we saw that kind of across the board. The first 2 or 3 months when everything shut down was crap, like it was for everybody. But after that, once we hit June, July, my sales went through the damn roof. And not just me, but everybody across the board. Shops were doing better. Once it hit that nice warm time frame and people had kind of settled into things, boom, sales went through the frickin' roof. So we made it work.
Thanks for having me, Smoke World. My name's Ski. I got a question for you, Alex. What's Rocky Patel most popular cigar of all time?
all time. I mean, if we're going just sales-wise, probably the 99. But if we're going general popular opinion, the AOR has been definitely our most lauded cigar. People love that stick. That's our age-limited rare, the second edition one. And that one we only make so much of, which, I mean, it's rough because you get a popular cigar, you get a cigar that's high rated, and it ends up being a limited edition that flies off the shelves. But that's probably the best cigar that we've ever made, in my opinion. It is rich, it is smooth, it's got everything going for it. And that's one that if you can find it, you gotta pick it up. You gotta pick it up.
Cool. I'm sorry, I got to piggyback on my brother Israel's comment in reference to this $20 Rocky Patel sticks, because Smoke World, those who listen to Smoke World are probably laughing right now, but Smoke World has a certain price range, $12, $13 at the most. And he telling me Rocky Patel's come out with a cigar, $20?
Yeah.
What's going on right now? Who are you fighting? Who are they going against? I can name some companies, but I'm not going to do that. But who are we challenged? Who are we in competition with at the $20 sticks? Because now, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's not what Rocky's been known for, really. He hasn't come out with anything for $20. So are you have people gun shy?
We have one cigar that's at that price point, the Rocky Patel 50. And that's like a $22 price point before any taxes.
Right.
And that cigar, anytime I've had anybody smoke it, they've loved it. When you're paying the extra for a cigar, typically what you're paying for is the aging. You're paying for it to be sat on for a period of time and be aged a proper amount. You're paying that money for Padron not because they have tobacco that nobody can get. You're paying that because they have a process that they go through that you are paying for that service essentially. You're paying for it to be aged for 5 years. You're paying for it to be taken care of properly in that time frame. So in that sense, that's kind of what we're competing with. We're competing with that side of it. And we haven't been known to do that, so that's part of the reason we're going into it more too. Because we gotta compete on that market. We can do the $10 cigar all day. We can do the $8 cigar all day. You can go for the edges at $8. You can go for a vintage at $10. You can do our quarter century, our AOR at $12 or $14. But we don't have a lot of cigars that fall into that category. And that, again, is its own particular category. It's not for everybody.
Right. The reason I asked that question, based on the COVID, the financial stability, the economics of where we are at as a country, for Rocky to say, you know what, I'm going to come out with a $20 stick, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about
There's
that right now.
There's a market for it at the end of the day. And
Gotcha.
is it going to be a thing that I'm selling 20 boxes of at a clip? Probably not. But it's going to be something to add to that market and give something quality-wise to show, hey, this is what Rocky can do. We aren't just the guys who make the edges that you scoop up by the handful. We're also the guys who make the cigar that'll compete with the Davidoff, and you'll smoke it and go, this is a damn good cigar.
Okay.
We are both of those things.
Gotcha.
We aren't going to forget the other guys. We're still going to keep making the cigars for the average person, but we can also add the other element to it.
Gotcha. Now, when is that supposed to happen? You say maybe.
So that's going to be
midsummer?
happening. Midsummer, July. So our PCA, that's the Premium Cigar Association. That's the big trade show, and usually we release most of our cigars or new cigars at that period. So that will begin on July 9th. It'll run to the 13th.
Yes, sir.
And whenever that gets done, people put their orders in, do their thing. And then we'll be shipping them out, and hopefully they'll be hitting the shelves by the beginning of August.
Now, on that same subject, can you talk about the blend of that cigar?
Unfortunately, I can't. I can't.
Okay.
I would love to.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
If you don't ask, you aren't going to get an answer, right? You got to ask. I just can't answer, unfortunately. So they're being more tight-lipped in general about blends, but specifically on the new stuff. There's certain things I can say, certain things I can't.
Right.
Blends is one of those things, unfortunately.
Now, Rocky Patel, do they sell by region What's the most that they sell, like in the Northeast, South? Is it?
Yeah, so cigars, it's interesting. Different regions definitely play better, and some of it's population-based and some of it is tax-based. So my particular region is big, specifically because Pennsylvania has no tobacco tax.
Right.
So you get a lot of people like distributors and whatnot that fall into PA and do business there. So I get a lot of business out of that. Generally speaking, if you were to look at the spots that do the most business with any given company, you're going to have three particular areas that'll be on that top list. One of them is going to be either the Mid-Atlantic or the Northeast, depending on how they section things off. But generally that Mid-Atlantic region, so my area, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Maryland, for the most part. After that, you have Florida and Texas. Some places Texas is higher than this area. Other places, Florida might be higher. Texas and Florida, two reasons as well. They have very low tax. They don't have no tax. I think Florida has no tax, but they have very low tax at the very least. And they have pretty much great cigar smoking weather all year round. Right. Up here, we got to deal with the winter. Once it hits after Christmas, once we hit mid-December, towards the tail end of December, things go off a cliff. Okay. And they're like that until March. So, and that's the winter at the end of the day. Nobody's going out and smoking. You're not sitting outside smoking a cigar during the winter. The lounges get packed, but the golf courses go empty.
Yes.
So, that's a bit of a give or take. And as great as a lounge like Sessions or any other place is, you don't make so much money off of people sitting here. You make them off of them buying and getting out.
Yes. Now, speaking of the PCA, have you been to the PCA before?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those who are listening, may not be familiar with what the PCA is. Mm-hmm. It's the Premium Cigar Association. And can you give us a little bit of what takes place? Because it's not for the cigar smokers, for the retailers.
Yeah.
So kind of give us a little idea of what takes place at the PCA.
So the PCA is a new name. This will be the first year that they will be operating the show underneath this new name. Prior to the PCA, most people will probably know it as the IPCPR, which was the International Premium Cigar and Pipe Retailers Association. Prior to that, it was the RTDA, which is the Retail Tobacconist Distributors Association. They didn't like distributors. That sounded weird, so they changed it from RTDA to IPCPR, and now it's the PCA, Premium Cigar Association. So whenever we say the PCA or the IPCPR, we're talking mainly about the show. It's an organization that basically functions as a lobbying group itself, but they sponsor or host the trade show, the big trade show that we do each year. And that's whenever people usually talk about it, that's what they're talking about. A lot of times we just call it the show. The show's in Vegas, and every year we have this show, usually sometime in July, used to be the tail end of June. We go out to Vegas and we showcase all of our new products. Run specials, talk with retailers, go out and, hobnob, rub elbows, have fancy dinners. As I like to call it, it's mandatory recreation.
And that's for those retailers. For those retailers that come out,
yep,
you're showing off the new stuff to those retailers.
Yep, and
not the customers, obviously.
Yep. And they've talked about opening it up to customers as kind of a way to bring a little extra money in and give customers a chance to do it, because it's almost like that. It's almost like that forbidden fruit for a lot of consumers. They're like, oh, that trade show. I wish I could go to that. If I was a retailer, if I was a rep, I could go to that thing. At the end of the day, it's not much different than any other trade show anybody's ever been to. You work in almost any industry, they're going to have a trade show, and you're probably going to go to it at some point in time. And it's not really much different than that, except for the fact that we smoke cigars and we're selling leisure instead of selling, medical equipment or selling airlines or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, it's almost the same as any of that. You go work the show floor, you try and get new customers, you try and show what your new stuff is. You go out at night and you party and you drink and you smoke and you hang out.
Party again.
Yep, until it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You get your ass up at 6 so you can get to the trade show again. and you do it again and again and again for 5 days, and you go home exhausted. It's a really good time, and it's also something that I need to recover from for a week afterwards, especially now that I'm a dad and older, and it's a young man's game now, you know?
Well, gentlemen, you guys, everybody else have another question? Hold on.
Yeah, I'd like to know about the number 6.
All right, the number 6. So, thanks for bringing that up. Number 6 is a great stick. Number 6 comes out of Honduras. It's got Nicaraguan tobacco in it. Stays on that medium-bodied side, Corojo wrapper. Got rated number 9 cigar of the year, which, of course, number 6 got rated number 9. So, you know. Why wouldn't you do that? I got to imagine that they did it on purpose, because realistically, any cigar rated between 6 and 10, doesn't matter what your position is on that, right? You're not in the top 5, but you're in the top 10. Doesn't matter if you're number 6 or you're number 10. You're in the top 10. Doesn't really matter. So, of course, they're going to look at the number 6 and go, 69, yeah.
Absolutely.
So we got rated number 9. Really great stick, though. Lots of complexity to it. You get some sweetness. You get some spice out of it. It stays on that medium-bodied. It's got enough flavor that a full-bodied person will like it, but it doesn't have so much body that somebody who likes something mild won't be able to smoke it. It's a really good stick. Definitely check it out. You can find it at Sessions and almost every other Rocky Patel retailer in this area, and any Rocky Patel retailer out there, as long as the rep's doing a decent job.
Anybody else? Anything else? Like I said, well, is there anything that we may have not covered that you want to let the folks know that Rocky may be doing that we didn't discuss?
Let's see here. Check out the Rocky Patel lounges if you get a chance. If you're in a city where they have them, that's the Rocky Patel Burn lounges. We have, I think we have 6 of them, but I think I can only name 5 towns.
What's the closest to this region?
Closest to here is out in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
So if you're out in Pittsburgh, check out the lounge there. It's over by the stadiums down on the South Shore or North Shore. Really nice spot there. We got one in Atlanta. We got one in Oklahoma City. We got one in Naples. And we got another one somewhere that I can't remember right now. But go and check out those lounges. They're nice spots. Good spot to have a drink, a smoke, hang out. Bit of a nightclub feel, but you can smoke a cigar. And
here's a $1 million question. Do they sell other cigars besides Rocky?
I smoke all sorts of stuff, man. Again, I came from the boutique side. So I love trying different stuff. Right now, I've been on the Blackbird.
Okay.
I've been on Blackbird like crazy. The Blackbird, I think it's the Crow, the purple banded one.
Yeah, I like that.
That one with the purple is great. It's got a Brazilian Matafina wrapper on it, and I love Matafina. So I've been on that one a lot. The Mil Diaz by Crowned Heads. Okay. They got a new limited edition they've been doing. That's a great stick. You know, I work for Rocky. I like my Rocky cigars. At the end of the day, there's too much out there to smoke to only smoke one brand.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I'll plug other brands too. Why not? Because they're good sticks out there. I used to work for Black Label Trading Company. Go check out any of their sticks. If you're into boutique cigars that are heavy-bodied, check them out. They're great too. James is a great dude behind that, James Brown, not to be confused with the singer.
Yeah, right. Get on the good foot.
He's a great guy and makes some really good stuff. You know, try out different things. If all you ever do is smoke one cigar, it's like all you're ever doing is eating one food. You're missing out on a whole spectrum of flavor out there. So go out and try new things.
Oh, man. Well, thanks, Brother Alex. I appreciate you being a guest on Smoke World.
No problem.
Well, there you have it, folks. Another episode of Smoke World in the books. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at Smoke World Podcast. Email stone@smokeworldpodcast.com. Again, the website is doing things. The cigar deals are out there. So check out the website, smokeworldpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Folks, I truly appreciate your support. Again, thanks for listening, and we will check you out on the other side. Peace.